Welcome back and thank you for staying with us on Daybreak Extra. And now we're going to start by taking a look at the Daily Trust weekend. And this has been announced, of course, that there will be a discontinuation of the Daily Trust Sunday. And instead, it would be merged and it definitely would give you more richer news, which will be released on Saturdays. So, yes, let's start with the Weekend Trust this morning. The major story here is talking about why agitations for the succession continue 54 years after civil war. Now, of course, I'm believing this is all about democracy and how, with each president comes, although there seemed not to be, like some kind of continuation, and the people tend to bring in people that they want, hence the agitation. So veterans narrate experiences as ACF says referendum is first step. For unity, Nigeria needs sincere leaders. That's according to President General of Ohaneze Ndigbo. We must go back to federalism. Afenifere leader Femi Okoromu is saying. Now, there seems to be, of course, a lot on this. And if there is any, paper that you should pick today to dissect is this, because this affects you as a Nigerian. This is a deep dive of historical ways of how things started until we get to this point. Now, I know in Nigeria we keep saying this word, how did we get here? How did we get here? Well, it's always good to go back to history. I've been a keen watcher of people that are more historical. And it seems, with each generation pass, with each decade moving forward, people tend to forget history. People tend to ignore history. And if we want answers to future things, then we have to, or current things, then we have to go back to the history. And we seem to be losing, less and less students of history. And that is something that is really concerning. We need to encourage, our kids, the younger generation, to going back to the library, picking books, not just the one that are in your curriculum of school, but the ones that, you think don't really matter. We need to go back to history. And of course, the Weekend Trust is giving you that. So dissect, go deep dive into at what point, that Nigeria just swerved and lost its course. And we can start finding solutions. And with necessary tools, which are the knowledge, we can ask the right questions to our leaders. We can push them. We can demand, that they do right by us as a country. Away from that, of course, still on historical matters, it says inside Sani Abacha Stadium, which should be, one of the most historical places in Nigeria, but really sadly, it has become a heaven for forbidden drugs in Kano. Fatima, we saw, Trust TV do a documentary, and it would be aired today on how bad, drugs, especially because this one was done for Kano State alone, how bad drugs are dealings and our own kids going into, or children, youth of the northern part of Nigeria and Kano go deep dive into drugs.
If you see the promo, you could see that it's worrisome. I think there's a reason why Kano was chosen, because there are rumors initially that most of the young ones, like the women, men, and even some divorcees venture into drug abuse and all that. So, but now that we have an evidence, to show that it's actually happening, I think it's something that we should be worried about.
Indeed.
It's sad to see a woman actually trying to go into drug abuse when your system is not the same with the the other gender. You could damage certain things, maybe even childbirth, and so many things that doctors have come out to say that it can actually happen. So it's really a sad one. The situation in the country, I wonder what is going to be in the next couple of years if things like this are not being tackled at this point.
Indeed.
So
it is agreed, globally, that drugs is the root to virtually all evil.
Because I think a lot of people feel they find solace in taking,
but
abusing.
it always starts like that.
Yes,
most times,
because they feel it will help them, but it's just for a moment. It's just for that moment, and that's it. When you wake up from whatever soberness you have, and until you are sober again, the problem will always be there. I keep saying that. Face it. Instead of going into drugs or something, go for therapy. Go for talk to people about certain things.
I mean, it's great that this documentary has been put out there. I hope next Saturday you get to bring the person behind this documentary.
Definitely,
let's
hear from him and what he had to go
a personal experience, of course, with these people one-on-one would be keen. And these are the reasons why we put these things out there. Making documentaries, talking about it, because that's the sensitization, especially in the northern part of Nigeria. You will agree with me that there is no space for therapy. You know that. People don't even believe in it. People don't even know it exists in the first place. So these are things that are really concerning. And while pointing out on the problem, which is the drugs, this documentary is shining light on how the problem got here, like what was the cause of it. And one of the causes of all this problem would be society, the marriage and divorce rate, how much we don't really value marriage these days in this generation, putting a girl into another kind of lifestyle, should I say, hunger in the land where parents cannot really provide for their kids, and then kids see other people as role model, how the streets can influence your own child. All of these things, it all boils down to how way back while we're growing up, the training of a child is something communal. Everybody can take care of that. But then this generation, you touch someone's child and the person gets so angry, or you correct someone's child and you see someone knocking on your door saying, it's not yours, just take care of your own problem. So I think all of that, there seem to be a lot of problems surrounding why our kids, why this generation youth are moving towards drugs, and until all of those are tackled, people become thieves.
Yes, I like the fact that you said I should get to bring, because we have already had that conversation with him. It's after the documentary airs that he's going to come and share with us his experience. So certainly, he's going to be here next week, definitely.
Yeah, it's always exciting to enlighten people on this. So please do stick around. Of course, tonight the documentary will be airing on Trust Television. You can watch us via our live show, live on YouTube, of course, to catch us on Trust TV News to get that documentary. That way, next week when we're talking about this, you'll of course be up to par with what we're talking about. All right, quickly, the red bulletproof houses of Gembu. Now, this is another historical, packed story. You'll find that on page 34 of the Weekend Trust. So yeah, these are basically some of the stories, but the Weekend Trust, as promised, is fully packed, so make sure you get a copy of this. These are some of the stories you'd find on the Weekend Trust.
Okay, so let's quickly take a look at the Punch newspaper this morning. The major story there says Lagos, Edo, Akwa Ibom, Ebonyi plan camp for the flood victims. Put measures in place for security. Sokoto Delta to relocate residents from flood-prone areas. NEMA, mom as flood ravaged 10 states. So you can find all that details on page 4. Sumaya, this is actually good to see that they are taking precautions. They are taking precautions to relocate the victims, the areas that are prone for the flood that is being like NIMET and others raised alarm, if you remember. I feel like we are making progress, that they tend to study and tell us, oh yeah, there's going to be flood in these areas, like people should actually look into what they can actually do to help. What do you think about that?
Of course, I mean, basically that is the reason for the climate change, the weather report, just especially we get so irritated when we see things happening until it's after it happens that organizations that the country put in place, that our agencies that are being paid with taxpayers' money are now doing like an afterthought, aftermath, decision. But then basically, there is an important why agencies are created in country or organizations is because they want you to try to prevent, and if it's not if it's in every way possible, but then at least even after you're trying to prevent, there should be a preparation for in case it happens, and there should be a post preparation for after it happens. So this is honestly, they say give kudos to the person who deserves it. So we're giving kudos for NIMET for taking the initiative, because it's barely into the winter season, barely into rainy season, and we're seeing massive flood in a
already
in a big city like Lagos, which is really scary. If it's happening there, then imagine other rural areas. So we're giving them kudos, we're giving them props, and we hope they do more.
You can't compare to 2022, 2023, especially 2022, where the flood actually was massive and it destroyed so many lives and properties. So this is for us to say yes, this time around we're a bit prepared, because people get to know that there's going to be flood in this certain state, so the government there will start making arrangements to to relocate, and that's exactly what's happening here.
And
so we actually really commend them for that. So go through page 4 for the details on that. Food crisis, 82 million Nigerians may go hungry, UN warns. You can find that story on page 4 as well. And then inside online matchmaking platforms where desperate singles are exposed to good and bad dates. So you can find that story on page 4 as well. Page 11.
I'm curious about that, but then when you spoke about food crisis, I'm like, okay, here we go again. If it gets any worse than this, then you should know that Nigerians honestly, because at this point people are dying already. People are hungry, and people are hungry. I want to use that word, like hungry. They're hungry and angry at the same time. And if now UN is one, and UN does not even need to warn Nigerians for us to know that we are at that point.
There has always been hunger anyway. It's just that it's going to be worse. I think that's what they should say, because if floods are hitting some of the states where people are actually farming, farmers are going to be affected. Definitely it's going to increase, and let's not forget there is insecurity, and then it's becoming scary, and all of that. So all of that is just making things worse. You'd agree with me that 10 years ago was not as this. 10 years ago the average family were able to help the low family. But then even with this situation, now, people are still helping. People are helping, but it's not, the capable hands are reducing. They have reduced massively. So if we used to have 10 people in a community that help, now you barely have 2 or 3 that could help. The other people now are still they've joined the other group of we want help as well. So hence the alarming concern about certainly I agree with you on that. But then it's good, like remember I think last week when we had similar conversation, we said a lot of people, even when they don't have, they try to give. So
it's really scary, honestly.
It's good to see that no matter how little you have, try to share with your neighbor, try to share, go to the IDPs, where there's hunger. No matter the little that you have, just share.
Because
give us never lack at the end of the day, so definitely. So
the next one after also caught my attention. Can you read that?
Yes. They said inside online matchmaking platforms where desperate singles are exposed to good and bad dates. So definitely,
the caption already said it. If you're desperate, then of course you would welcome even the bad, and you will not, you ignore the red flags. But then I've seen online dating platforms coming up, springing up in Nigeria, and it's for me, honestly, it's a welcome idea, because we all know that some people are more introverts. Some people don't really put themselves out there. They don't go out. So if there is another alternative for you to date and meet someone who
but don't forget the scammers, because you may go online and find people that are not themselves. They are imposters using other people's pictures just to get people. So don't forget that. That's why they said good and bad. So definitely, if it is an online, you definitely meet people that are bad, because you wouldn't know who they are.
If it's offline, don't you meet bad people as
well. So the thing is, don't forget the incident with Andrew, the Afiba, and this. Is it Celine or something like that? The situation with those ladies that met the guy online.
No, that is different too, right?
No, I'm just giving you an example, you know. But this is his real face. This is the real person. But then he turned out to be a bad person. That's where I'm heading.
Yeah.
So you could actually, that's why they said good and bad. You could meet the good ones. You could still meet the bad ones. So the thing is,
it boils down on your decision.
So it's a 50-50 thing at the end.
Why go to these people met him? Like, why go to them? Especially, it's African thing. It's global thing, whether we like it or not.
Well, I still feel people should trade with caution, you know, still because it's online.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's always good to be extra safe. It's always good to listen to your guts and have that sixth sense, of course. So definitely I agree with that.
All right.
But then when you meet people online, it's agreed that you're just meeting them. People are talking. It's just a platform for you to meet, not to go deeper into relationship. Maybe afterwards you meet in a very public, a neutral ground where you will feel safe. And then meet the person. If the person doesn't cut it, then you leave and move on. I mean, life goes on. It's not a do or die affair, right? All
right. So go through page 30 and 31 for that story, you know, so you can hear what people have to say about that. So Agbako name brought me fame, says Charles Olumo. Well, you can find his stories on page 16 of the Punch this morning, so you can go through the details proper. Police foil Lagos kidnapping plots, kill 9 suspects. You can find that story on page 9. And then it says, meet Nigerian born British who emerged winners in UK's general election. Wow. This is actually indeed a very, very good, achievement, for Nigerians, that someone emerged winner, in the general election that happened there. And then tinubu EU world leaders salute new UK PM Starmer. Prime Minister. Yeah, that's a good one. But then,
no, I don't think the Nigerian is the one that got the Prime Minister, right?
Well, they are congratulating the Prime Minister. That's what it is. But then, he also emerged as a winner. Whatever position he got, the Nigerian, it's actually an achievement.
It's really great. I mean, UK has, been a home of everyone. We've seen how an Indian, Rishi Sunak, also, he just basically put a video out there for his resignation and apologizing to the UK people and all of that. So, yeah, it's a great thing. Nigeria is also, reaching out there, paving mark and do it. And we hope, they govern people right, because that is the most important thing at the end of the day.
Certainly. So go through page 27 for more details on that. And then after my PhD, I intend pursuing a career as a lecturer. Ogun Monarch said, you can find that details on page 15. So it's good. It's good to see that, a monarch actually still pursued his, PhD at whatever age. This is really good that, school is not just meant for a certain age limit. Yeah. It doesn't have a limit to, finding education or
and
getting knowledge,
and
fulfilling your dream. Because I've seen, Freeman,
Morgan Freeman.
He became popular and became famous at the age of 50-something, I think, his first breakout. So I think it's really cool to see that people at a certain age, you don't give up. So
of course.
That's it for the Punch this morning.
All right, let's quickly take a look at the Guardian newspaper this morning, where the major story, of course, is talking about local refineries, why crisis over crude supply will persist. That's according to Alinko Dangote, who is, an owner of a refinery. And yes, if there is another topic that I would really suggest Nigerians should look into, it would be, this refineries, why the crisis of crude oil supply will persist. Like I said, it's always good to pack your brain with knowledge, pack your mind with knowledge. That way, in every room, you can ask the necessary questions and hold your government accountable on what is done and what is not done, and hold even individuals, because when we talk about saboteurs, most times they are just entities. They're just one person or group of people, or the cabals, like Dangote used. So yeah, you can find that on page 2. Below that, we see Shetima urges shift to non-oil sector to unlock potential. Indeed, I mean, should this even be in news? Because every every stakeholder in economic stakeholder have been repeating the same thing, that we have more potential. Why are we sticking to the oil? Why the oil? And so far there seem to be a lot of saboteurs on that sector. So let's open ourselves to other possibilities, because you see Nigerians going abroad and doing great for themselves. So that with us here, with our resources, we can explore and do more of that. So you can catch that story on page 3. NLC demands immediate reversal of new electricity tariff. There's been a controversy of the increment on tariff, and that's for Band A. And of course, NLC have been pushing for the previous one to be reversed, and yet the government went ahead to add, more money for that. So we would have to wait and see how that pans out. Polytechnic teachers may embark on strike over scheme of service. Interesting. You get that story on page 3. And who is afraid of Dangote's refineries? The inside stuff. You will get that backstory, of course, on The Guardian. At the top of the page there, we see the Oklo imperative, remembering Earth's only natural nuclear reactor. Of course, a special feature on that one. Periscoping, follow Adeboye's passion and Christian education in the making of a complete child. You'll find that on page 44. Now, these are some of the stories on The Guardian weekend.
Well, that's a whole lot. I was going through the Vanguard. It's sort of disturbing. But then let's take a look at Saturday Vanguard this morning. It says the major story there says crude oil theft, why government can't stop Lagos Abuja cartel. Pandev and Niger Delta leaders, activists challenge President Tinubu to summon political will to stop it. Well, yeah, I totally agree with that. The cartels, yeah, we keep hearing that. Sumaya, what do you think about the oil?
I feel it's a word, it's a very shady word. Like when we say cartel, it's like
it sounds like a drug cartel.
Yeah. But I the problem with me, I think that the leaders that know these people need to be bold. Fatima, at this point, the whole cartel thing is a word used in order not to call people's names. I've been on the street, let's say that, as a journalist, I've been on the street and I have been hearing name dropping. Yes, people have been dropping names. We
all have heard names, but then we can't come out and say this is it because we don't have proof.
Exactly. So people that do have proof need to, because we need to hold these people accountable. When a cartel comes up, definitely by this time, I don't know. I just feel by this time, for our president, who of course his agenda is I'm going to fight corruption, the first thing you do is put people to dig deep, to do some research and not leave it to only the journalists to do it. So I'm thinking by now they should know who this cartel, how many people entails on this cartel, and start dropping names. That way, you just leave Nigerians to even roast people first on social media.
So I totally agree with you. Yes, so but then, like I said, you keep hearing things, and there are people that keep, insisting on the certain names that are popping up about this whole, oil bunkering or oil theft and all that. But then, if you don't have evidence to show that yes, this person is actually should be held accountable, then you don't have a case at this point. But then this is something that we need to dig deep.
Indeed.
Investigations should be carried out to know who are behind this.
I feel like
whole thing.
Especially
this is a challenge thrown to the president now to look into this. This is a serious thing to because this is like the major resources that Nigeria has.
The president came and said corruption is fighting back, Fatima. I don't know.
Well, the thing is, when you hear people say that maybe there are people beyond, or there are people that you cannot fight, and you already know who they are. And remember, it's something that maybe we may not come out to say, but if you remember back then during the election period when Hajia Najatu Muhammad came out and was speaking out, and she said, when she asked him what he has to do for the Northerners, and this is what he said, and the one thing that because it's circulated on the internet, it says, do you want them to kill me? So for example, if this is actually true, what do you think?
I didn't see that clip.
Well,
the president himself said, do you want them to kill me?
To her, you know, because she had a conversation with it was circulating during the time, and that was why she left APC.
Interesting.
Yeah, so but then you can search it, it's something that maybe you should look into
I
and
think
then
it's something
listen
I would
from her.
definitely look
So
into.
there are certain things that you cannot do if you know that maybe you're being threatened or something. So this calls for investigation.
As a president, that he
well,
holds the highest position.
you should go through that story
So then
much later.
something is wrong if at all we allow people to, the cartel people to control our
I'm
country.
just saying, I'm just giving you an example. I'm not talking about this particular issue. I'm just saying that certain things that needs to be looked into. But then you can look for the story much later and go through it, and then people out there can remember some of the things that. Of course. A lot of things that she has actually said. It's not just this, but then you can go search it. It's
urging Nigerians to do their research and due diligence.
So this is a challenge to the president. Look into this, situation.
And Nigerians, Fatty.
So
you'll
go
be
through
surprised
page
how much
10.
Nigerians can.
Go through page 10 for more details on that. And then we have Tonto DK. We don't know what she's saying, but then check page 15 or 13 thereabout for that story. And then my fear for APC in 2027. This is coming from Mukalo. Is you can find that story on page 13. I refuse to be Davido's sex slave. Wow, Sophia Mamodo. This is a huge allegation at this point. He just got married. This back and forth fight between them. I mean, you people have a child. Don't do this for the sake of the child that you have. You're going to put her in a situation where when she grows up, she gets to see all this, stories, allegations from her mom to her dad, the dad to the mom, and all that. So I think it's something that they should settle outside off the social media. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I hope if time permits, of course, we'll dissect into.
Definitely. I know that maybe you have something you would definitely say about that. So let's wait and hear from our entertainment guru much later. So go through page 4 for more details on that. And then Edo, Ghost of Zamfara Rivers 2029 APC primaries haunting PDP in 2024. Now that's the question. You can go through page 18 for more details on that. And then the resurgence of kidnapping in Southwest. Afenifere, Yoruba elders raise the alarm, say renewed banditry in the region, disturbing and disheartening. Well, certainly, if something goes quiet and then resurfaces, this means a lot. It's something that we should look into. Well, go through page 14 for more details on that. A Rivers crisis. Pressure mounts on Fubara to dump PDP. Why he can't go to LP. The worst is over. He reacts to appeal court ruling. Well, now that's a lot too. Then, a lot is being packed up for you in front page of the Vanguard that could sustain you for the day. Go through page 12 for more details on that, the Rivers crisis and the rest of the story. So that's it for the Vanguard this morning.
All right, quickly, let's take a look at the Tribune. Major story is talking about 9 kidnappers killed in Lagos. Police Guards Brigade raid kidnappers' hideouts in Kaduna and Niger State. Below there, we see APC chairmanship. Court slates September 18 to decide Ganduje's fate. NNPC kicks as report says Nigeria owes overseas petrol suppliers $6 billion. Okay, another controversial topic there. You find that on page 4. Pro-Fubara lawmakers head to Supreme Court. British Nigerians who won UK elections, new PM ministers appointed. Interesting. We have about 5 British Nigerians, that won the election. Above the page there we have 2 friends fight to death in Oshun. I want to know why. I want to know why 2 friends wouldn't have to fight. Definitely, there is no reason. There is no reason for that. Don't donate all your pension to churches, mosques, someone who tells retirees. Indeed, you need to feed you and your family. Edo PDP campaign team says Ighodalo not disqualified. Still a controversy going on the Edo PDP camp. Now, these are the stories you'd find on the Saturday Tribune. And with that, of course, we would take a break. This is the end of the segment. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll open the phone line to hear from you about another topic that is really important, and I'm not sure it's really been talked about in Nigeria. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.